The sun clung low, casting long shadows across the red path that led from the river. Her steps were sure, steady. A full pot balanced on her head, not a drop wasted. She walked alone. Behind her, the world woke slowly. Roosters crying, goats chewing rope, old men arguing beneath trees. But ahead, silence. And something strange. There she was, bent low, back curved like a bow. Two cracked jugs trembled in hands that shook like dry leaves. People walked past. One glanced. One muttered. One spat. But no one stopped. She slowed her pace. The pot above her head tilted slightly. Her legs paused near a crooked stone where the path split into three. One voice said walk. Another whispered turn. She placed her pot on the earth. Dust kissed her ankles. Feet moved back toward the old woman without fully knowing why. "Let me help you, Mama." The old woman said nothing at first, just stared, eyes like faded cloth. Then she nodded, and together they walked, through narrow bends the girl had never seen, past trees with bark that peeled in circles. A drumbeat pulsed far off, then stopped. Birds stilled. At the edge of the forest, they reached a quiet clearing. There, she lowered the jug gently beside the others. She turned to leave. A hand like tree bark gripped her wrist. Not all jugs carry water. Some carry fate. The whisper slid into her ear like smoke. She blinked, and the woman was gone. No footsteps, no trail, nothing but leaves shaking gently, as if laughing. She stood frozen, one hand still in the air, one heartbeat echoing louder than drums. Where the woman touched her, a bead now rested. Round, clay, etched with symbols that hummed faintly in her palm. She picked up her own pot and the old woman's, balanced them both, turned back down the path she no longer recognized. Behind her, the forest exhaled, and the wind carried a promise too heavy for water to hold. The path home felt longer. The pot balanced steady, but something in the air pulled backward, like wind remembering its own warning. The family compound buzzed with morning smoke and firewood. Soap cut into blocks. Palm wine drained from high branches. Chickens argued beneath sleeping dogs. But her silence stood out. Eyes low, step soft. When asked, she smiled and blamed the sun. In the square, voices rose. A goat was taken near the tree with the hanging gourd. A child chased shadows near the pool and never found her stick. An old man swore he saw a figure vanish into the reeds without footprints. The elders said nothing, but their drums spoke slower that day. She leaned close to the only one who would listen, whispered what she saw. The woman, the whisper, the bead. Laughter answered. Loud, careless laughter. A joke, perhaps. A spirit story too old to chase. She reached into her wrapper, held out the clay bead. It pulsed. The laughter stopped. But no words followed. Just a shrug, a pebble tossed, and a goodbye said too quickly. The sun fell fast. Inside, sleep came slowly. Outside, a sound tapped gently on the woven mat. She lifted it. Nothing moved. No visitor stood. Only silence and starlight. Then she saw it. A broken bracelet. Clay. The same spiral carved into its side. She picked it up. Her hands tingled. Her mother gasped. The mark was older than names. Spoken only in hushed stories. A circle of people who once lived near the forest pool. Who bathed under the moon. Who whispered to spirits beneath the water. Who vanished after the drought and the broken promise. They were called the children of the pool. No one mentioned them now. No one but the oldest women. She remembered hearing it once as a child. They mark what belongs to the river, and the river never forgets. Her father slammed his palm on the table. No more talk. No more tales. The past should stay where it drowned. But the bracelet still glowed, and sleep still ran. When it came, it brought water. She stood inside a dark cave, clay jug in her arms, water inside, sloshing gently. She stepped forward. The deeper she walked, the louder the river whispered. Not words, just sound that crawled up the spine and tightened the chest. A pool waited in the center. She bent to pour. The jug cracked. Water turned dark, thick, sticky, red. It spilled across her feet, over the rocks into the pool. Then silence. A voice echoed, soft, old, and terribly near. Some jugs carry fate. She dropped the jug. It shattered. The sound woke her. She sat up. The bracelet now rested on her chest. Whole again, glowing, waiting. The drum came at sunrise. Tall and black, carved from sacred Irako, it thudded once. Then again. Then silence. A man from across the hills stepped forward. Royal cloth. Gold at the throat. Words sharpened by distance. Solve the riddle of the forest pool, he said, and win the king's gold. Win his favor. And maybe more. Mouths opened. Eyes widened. But no one moved. The forest had long buried its last fool. Yet some feet itch even when the fire burns nearby. She leaned forward, heart thumping like the drum. He stepped beside her, grinning, whispering of adventure, of treasure, of making their names remembered. But the voice of the father came harder than stone. No, the forest is not a path. It is a mouth. She stood in silence. But silence is not agreement. That night, the moon rose high. The wrapper was packed. A mango dried. A bracelet hidden beneath her waistband. He waited at the river, feet splashing in the shallow. A stick in his hand, pretending it was a sword. Laughter in his mouth. They walked, past frogs, past trees that leaned in, past places that didn't carry names anymore. Symbols began to rise, etched into bark, cut into stone. The same ones from the bead, from the bracelet, from the dream. The air thickened. Even the birds watched without blinking. Then she appeared, younger now, robes the color of royal sky, skin smoother, eyes older than roots. So, you came, she said. The wind grew still. Only those who have given may receive. She drew a circle on the ground. Symbols danced above it. The air pulsed. She asked a riddle. What lives when broken, and dies when held too tightly? He laughed first. A goat? A chicken egg? A joke? She said nothing. The question hung like smoke. She closed her eyes. The words fell like truth. A promise. The air shifted. The woman's smile was not warm. Good. But now comes consequence. The earth cracked. The forest moaned. A scream. A shout. A hand reaching. Then the ground swallowed them whole. No warning. No mercy. Only roots above. And darkness below. The drum spoke before the rooster. A single strike. Then silence. Another strike. Then breath held. The villagers gathered with eyes wide and mouths tight. From the dust rose a man in royal cloth, tall and still. His staff bore the king's seal. His voice cut through smoke like a spear through ripe fruit. A challenge from the royal village. Solve the riddle of the forest pool, he said. Win gold. Win favor. Win a name the ancestors won't forget. Heads turned. Some muttered prayers. Others clicked their tongues and stepped back. Not even gold could buy bones back from the forest. But where others saw warning, two saw invitation. He smiled first, teeth shining. A whisper passed between them. She lowered her gaze but did not turn away. That night, the house sat quiet. The air, too heavy for wind. Her hands moved quickly. Mango wrapped in cloth, water in a gourd, bracelet hidden beneath folded cloth. The voice of the father came hard. Final. No, the forest does not play fair. It gives nothing without hunger. It returns nothing but silence. Still, silence does not mean obedience. She left while stars still blinked, feet brushing the earth like memory. He waited at the edge of the path, stick in hand, cloak tied wrong, courage wrapped in foolishness. They crossed the river as frogs sang warnings. Trees leaned in. Crickets stopped chirping one by one. Then came the marks, lines on bark, spirals in the dirt, symbols carved into stone older than the village's founding drum. The same as the bracelet, the same as the dream. She touched one with her fingers. It was warm. The forest grew thick. The light dimmed, but the path glowed ahead. Then she appeared, younger than before, cloaked in royal blue, hair like midnight braided into the wind, eyes deep enough to swallow secrets. "So you came," she said. The forest stilled. She raised her hand, and the dirt beneath them cracked in a perfect circle. 5 symbols hovered above her head. Greed, fear, sacrifice, truth, loyalty. But she spoke only one. A riddle. What lives when broken and dies when held too tightly? He laughed first. A goat? No. Then a chicken egg. Maybe a drum? Each answer more foolish than the last. She said nothing, only watched. But one stood still, eyes closed, breath shallow. Then she spoke. A promise. The forest exhaled. The woman's smile was sharp now. Good. But all truth has its price. The ground trembled. Roots twisted like angry snakes. The circle cracked open like the shell of a cursed fruit. He shouted. She reached. The wind screamed. Then the forest swallowed them whole. Without a sound, darkness held its breath. The earth no longer rumbled, but silence clung to every root. Eyes opened, not to sky, not to sun, only stone above and shadows beside. Light flickered from insects born of earthlight, crawling across walls like whispers. Breath came sharp. Dust filled mouths. Hands touched ground. Feet found balance. They rose inside a hollow world. No trees, no sky. Only echoes and ancient breath. A line of clay jugs stretched ahead. 5, each carved with a single word. Greed, fear, sacrifice, truth, loyalty. They stepped closer. One laughed and lunged. Greed rested in his hands before the others pulsed. He vanished in golden light, laughter trailing behind like smoke after fire. The other reached slowly. Sacrifice burned warm beneath her palm. The path split. She walked alone. A drumbeat faint and far called from beneath the soil. A clay pot waited ahead, full to the rim. No voice spoke, but the path rose. Steep, jagged, endless. She lifted the jug. A whisper circled her like flies. Laughter. Cold, cruel, not human. She climbed. The jug grew heavier. Spirits mocked. She stumbled. The pot cracked. She sealed it with mud and pressed forward. One step. Another. Then one more. At the summit, silence fell. Fog cleared. The jug shimmered, whole again. The path opened. This time, a shadow sat curled beneath a ledge. Thin hands. Empty bowl. Tears that didn't fall but hovered like forgotten rain. She reached for her cloth. Only one strip of dried mango left. No choice. She offered it. The shadow smiled, took the food, and vanished into glowing dust. The bowl floated unbroken. Ahead, stone doors opened without sound. Now she stood inside a hollow chamber. No symbols, no jugs, only one question in the air, carried by a wind with no source. Why did you help the old woman? No eyes watched, but weight pressed down like judgment. She could say many things, but only one truth burned clear. because no one else did. The ground pulsed. Gold veins spread from her feet across the chamber. The air thinned. Then she appeared, younger no longer, skin like carved night, robes of forgotten kingdoms, eyes carved from centuries. The queen of the forgotten. She stepped forward. No crown, no throne, only presence. You have answered with your heart, not your mouth. Few passed this test. Symbols glowed along arms and legs. They did not burn. They blessed. This world only opens its treasure to those who give without expecting. The chamber trembled. Roots tore through stone. A door rose from the dust, blinding with light. The queen stepped back. The girl stepped forward. The light swallowed her whole. The maze was behind her now, but the truth still followed. The wind carried her back. Not on wings, not in glory, but gently, like smoke returning to its fire. She woke on red earth, near the village path, palms bruised, head light, but body whole. The golden bowl rested in her arms. Water inside shimmered, but never moved. It did not slosh. It did not spill. It simply stayed, eternal, quiet, full. Feet shuffled past. Eyes widened. A voice shouted. Another called for her mother. Someone dropped a calabash. They said she had vanished for days. But she had only been gone long enough to learn the difference between light and gold. Crowds gathered. The village stirred. And from the dust came another. He arrived earlier, wearing fine cloth, heavy rings, a laugh sharp as a thorn. He claimed the forest gave him riches, said the spirits welcomed him, told tales of battles and riddles, of treasures won without cost. Some clapped, some whispered, all watched. Then he pointed. She is not blessed, he said. She is cursed. She drank spirit water. She returned different. Touch her, and misfortune will follow. Whispers became warnings. Eyes once soft grew cautious. Even family hesitated. But the bowl never emptied. And when a mother wailed, child limp in her arms, the girl stepped forward. No words, no prayers, only action. She dipped her fingers into the bowl and let the glowing water touch the child's lips. The breath returned. The cry came. The sickness left like a thief who realized he'd entered the wrong house. The story ran faster than goats on market day. They said her hands glowed. They said the child walked that same evening. They said the water never dropped, even when poured. The chief called a gathering. The oldest drum sounded. 3 beats. Pause. Then 2. The crowd moved like smoke toward the stone circle. The bowl sat in the girl's lap. He stood again, this time louder. Said she used forbidden magic, that he saw her vanish beneath the forest floor. But no one answered him. Eyes turned, not to his voice, but to the glow that came from the bowl itself. The chief stood. No speech, only a gesture. The bowl rose on its own, hovered, spun once, then poured a stream of water that danced in the air before returning to the bowl, without spilling a drop. He fell silent. The wind picked up, a whisper only she could hear. The woman was back, but now she wore no disguise. She stood tall, cloaked in air and memory, her voice old enough to shake trees. Gifts reveal who you truly are. Not when you receive them, but when you use them. Then she vanished again. No smoke, no flash, just gone. The crowd did not cheer. They bowed, one by one. Even the chief placed his staff down. The golden bowl glowed, and the sky dimmed slightly, just enough to let the truth shine without needing the sun. His rings began to flake. One dropped, another cracked. His fine cloth dulled like fruit left in sun too long. His mouth opened, but no sound came. When he walked away, the crowd did not stop him. But no one followed. She turned, placed the bowl gently beside the drum. then walked home barefoot. The wind followed, quiet and proud. The bowl stayed at home, wrapped in cloth, hidden from sight. Not forgotten, but not flaunted. She returned to the river with bare hands and an old pot. The same way she always had. Step by step. Quiet. Balanced. No drumbeats. No whispers. The villagers watched her pass. Some bowed their heads. Others simply moved aside. Respect did not need words. The river still sang. The water still chilled the fingers. The sky still shimmered like it had before fate called her name. She did not wait for praise. She did not need it. Each morning she rose. Each morning she walked. Each morning she carried water like nothing had changed. But everything had. Then came a day like any other. Until it wasn't. Another figure struggled by the river bend. Back bent. Arms shaking. 2 jugs cracked from use. No help nearby. No voice raised. People passed. As they always had. She stopped. No hesitation. No fear. No question. She stepped forward. Took 1 jug in her hand. Smiled. Not all jugs carry water. Some carry fate. The old woman blinked. The breeze stirred. Leaves rustled gently. And the river glowed faintly, as if it remembered something too deep for words. They walked together without speaking. One helped, one accepted, and far behind them, the river kept singing, because the gift was never in the gold, not in the bowl, not even in the water. It was always in the hands that chose to give when no one else would. In the heart of the giver lies the secret of the gift.